Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Wake Up with the Consciousness Cafe. My name is Lisa Ferraro. I am the founder and spiritual director of SoulCall Global. This morning, I am so thrilled to welcome somebody I've been admiring from a distance for so many years. As many of you know, I'm involved in the jazz scene, but this woman we have this morning, Sherrie Maricle, is a jazz drummer extraordinaire, band leader of a fantastic the Diva Jazz Orchestra, who's been around for going on 28 years now. They've played, and she's played and performed everywhere from Lincoln Center to Vietnam to Carnegie Hall to you name it. Too many, you have to go to divajazz.com.
Yeah, divajazz.com.
And read the accolades. Too many awards to name, but and all so deserved. And welcome, Sherrie Maricle. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm so excited to be here. This is like one of my favorite things in the world to connect, communicate, and talk about with like-minded people. It's fabulous.
It's awesome. So, you know, Soul Call is all about what makes your soul come alive. And we were talking a little bit before we started rolling. And I thought, that's it, we have to stop because we just always get into the great stuff with somebody who's as vibrant with it as you and the way music speaks to you. And we were talking a little bit about, tell us about your path to drumming. When did you know that was your soul's calling?
The biggest and most enlightening moment to me came when I was 11 years old. So that was in like 1974. And a music teacher took me to see a band called Buddy Rich. So one of the world's greatest jazz drummers that ever lived. And his big band was called the Killer Force. And I was sitting in the back row of the balcony, and I grew up in a country and Western and Irish folk music household because it was my mom's favorite kinds of music. And when the band started, I was like, I was being simultaneously electrocuted. I was filled with adrenaline, like when you're on the top of the roller coaster, and right when you take off and your stomach goes, whoop, and every hair on my body stood on end. It's like it was yesterday to me when I retell the story because it was so visceral and hit me in such a deep and profound way. My jaw was on the ground the whole concert, and I didn't know what I was hearing. I didn't know what it was. I just ran home and said to my mother, I have to be a drummer. I have to play jazz. I don't know what jazz is. I have to play in the big band. And I never had to think about what I wanted to be when I grow up, because when I was 11, it picked me, I suppose.
That's fantastic. And so how did you find your way? I remember being in the band growing up. You know, I played French horn, which was odd for a girl to play trumpet and then French horn. But drummers, I mean, they would fight over the snare drums. The guys would. Were you able to get in there and play snare drum and you're in 9th and 10th grade? You know what I'm talking about, right? When you get into
sure. Actually, when I was in the school and I was in 4th grade, I remember when you could start playing an instrument when you were in 4th grade, and I wanted to play the trumpet, and I was told girls couldn't play the trumpet. So I was given a metal clarinet and I also played the cello and when I was very young and went through some, instrument hopping until the drum experience. But I think when you're younger, it didn't impact the older you get and proceed up into high school and certainly into college. The attrition rate for women studying jazz is dramatic. Yeah. Like when younger kids in the younger age groups, there's a lot of women, and then we systematically fall out. And there are many, we can discuss all the sociological reasons why that might be, but not if you're passionate about it. For me, my only thing in my mind was I need to do this thing. I want to do this thing. So whatever, in hindsight, I have some different thoughts and feelings, but at the moment I do remember thinking, what? That's stupid. Like batting flies out of my way. Like don't say that. Like being in the comments that people would say, like, for instance, step aside, honey, this is a hard driving chart. And it would make me so angry. Wow, yeah. And simultaneously, like, I'm not listening to you. I am not listening to you. Head down, blinders on, go in this direction. Mm-hmm. Because I really, really I do love it. I did love it. I wanted to do it so much. And I'm glad that we're having this chat and you're offering this to the world, because it's so, especially now for performing artists, and since the pandemic struck us all, it's so important to remember the reasons why you're in music and doing what you're doing, and finding those core things that lit you up like a fireworks display when you first started doing them. And
what hits me when I get to watch you play, and I encourage everybody to go check out divajazz.com and watch some of these fantastic, the Diva Jazz Orchestra. you transmit the same kind of electricity and joy. It's just contagious. Even to be in the audience is one thing, but then to be just to, it comes across even through the screen. But tell me about the vision for the Diva Jazz Orchestra. I think a lot of people, some of us remember learning about the women who took off as the orchestras when the men were fighting in the war, the women were making all the music. But then all of a sudden, the guys come back and you see women trying to find their way again once we've been out playing around the world and doing tours. And women, the way women approach music, it's a whole different feel, a whole different vibe.
Yeah, it can be quite different.
It's
Not in every case, but in most cases, the energy is always quite different.
Yeah.
So in the swing era, yeah, for sure, in World War II, there was like amazing bands like the International Sweethearts of Rhythm, the Darlings of Swing, Phil Spitality, all those great bands. And it's like inconceivable that actually one woman in this great documentary film called The Girls in the Band, which is about women instrumentalists, said, yeah, they were like running like 5 nights a week or 6 nights a week at this theater, and they literally came back to work and all of their instruments and stuff were thrown to the side, and the theater owner said, well, the men are back. I mean, that is so inconceivable.
Yeah, it is inconceivable.
That could happen. It's crazy.
Yeah. So tell me about your vision for Diva Jazz Orchestra.
It was the vision of Stanley Kay, who was a great impresario, and he was the former manager of the Buddy Rich Band. He also managed great entertainers like Maurice Hines and Gregory Hines, the fabulous actress Michelle Lee, Paul Berkeley. There's some icons of show business past. Anyway, he heard me playing drums at the 75th anniversary of the Schubert Theater in New Haven, Connecticut. And I knew Stanley. He was a guest conductor, came in with Maurice Hines. So I'm playing along after the show. I made a point to talk to him. This was 1990, May of 1990. So we stayed friends, but then 2 years later, he called me and said, I want to form a big band and I want it to be women. Do you know women that play like you? Nice. And I said, I do. And I certainly still do and did. And the reason I was so enthusiastic about it is because prior to that conversation with Stanley, a lot of opportunities that featured all women performers had nothing to do with music. It had to do where, you have to look a certain way, weigh a certain amount, wear tons of lipstick, show your cleavage, show your legs, blah, blah, blah. Nothing to do with the music. You could be a marginal musician and be in one of these bands. And it was very disheartening to everyone who took the music so seriously. Yeah. So Stanley said, we're going to get first of all, he wanted to do it because he's a lifelong New Yorker. He passed away 10 years ago, but so many bands working in and around New York. And he said, I don't see any women playing in these bands. Why aren't there women playing in these bands? I know there's women that can play, exception being a great lead trumpet player named Lori Frink, who is like quite, astounding. And she sadly passed away. But beside from that, women just weren't being given opportunities. Yeah. I mean, if there was a list of 20 people and, you needed a big band and there like 2 of them were women, guaranteed you the band leaders weren't calling the women. Right. Just because of preconceived, ill-conceived notions about how women played music. Right. Anyway, so Stanley started the band. He said, I'm going to have an audition. If I hear something I like, if everyone can play, then we're going to start this band. And 40 women came, you'll see, from all over the world. We picked the original 15 and off we went. And it was Stanley's vision to give this great opportunity. And he said, I don't care if you weigh 300 pounds. I don't care what you look like. I don't care if you have a mustache. I don't care about anything except the way you play the music. And that was, I was so over the top, especially because he was Buddy Rich's manager. And that's the reason I play the drums, is because of Buddy Rich. So it was all like this big, amazing circle and serendipity for me to meet him and have this opportunity. And then from musical aspirations and style and the way we think about swing and the tradition of the music,
Mm.
all the way through the way you treat people. And he was one of the best human beings in this music business on earth, period. An unbelievable person.
Yeah.
I was my biggest mentor and inspiration of my life was him.
What a fantastic story. And I love, as you pointed out, how it comes full circle, because I have no doubt that part of the electricity of hearing Buddy Rich was that connection. It was going to come full circle for you to bring
Yeah.
forth this vision and this energy. And we were talking a little bit about how important it is for young girls to see themselves playing.
Yes. Yeah.
Speak to that a little bit more, like to see, especially in jazz, like you just illustrated so beautifully. Uh, Looking a certain way, you know, if you're a female, you're supposed to look like this, you're supposed to walk like this, talk like this. But, you know, growing up where I grew up, I didn't see a whole lot of jazz instrumentalists who were females, and how important it is. What would you say to a young girl now who is a drummer, who wants to become a jazz drummer and tour the world successfully as you are?
Well,
Tell me
now
about
of course it's so fabulous because of the internet. You can just go to Google, just type in women jazz drummers, and you're going to get an array of amazing players.
it.
And I do recommend historically because in the United States, white men have written the history of the country, so it's not accurate. so so this girl and on all counts, but in jazz music, this wonderful filmmaker named Judy Chaikin did a documentary called The Girls in the Band. It's a history of women instrumentalists, not vocalists, so it's very unique in that regard. Because sometimes when you say women in jazz, people are like Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, they think of all the great vocalists.
Yeah.
True. But there's also an array of amazing instrumentalists that you may have never heard of. Mm-hmm. So this movie is fantastic. And so you can watch that and get even a deep history, like from the swing era, even a little bit prior to the swing era. Through the film ends when Esperanza Spalding, the great bassist, beat out Justin Bieber for Best New Artist at the Grammy Awards. Unheard of.
That
an
was
African American female bass player, jazz bass player, beating out Justin Bieber. It was like rocked the Grammys that year with shock.
I remember it well because I jumped up. It was the first time I'd gotten that excited in a long time.
Yeah. So the advice is to find. I have heard even young women today say, "Oh, I don't know any women that play my instrument." Well, that's impossible. An impossible statement because it's so simple to find so many.
Yeah.
Even on look at the Diva Jazz website and all the women that have played in the band, and just then go to their websites because they all have websites. And just my gosh, the new band Artemis, which is like a powerhouse of women all-star players. There's so many, and so it just really helps to see someone that looks like you doing the thing that you want to do. Yeah. And people will say, "Oh, it doesn't matter if you're passionate and if you'll drive through it anyway," and that can be true, but it makes it you feel like you're part of the community, and it opens up like head space and even heart space to know that you're connected to someone who has gone before you and done the thing you want to do.
Yeah.
I like the example, especially of I can't remember the name of the guy that broke the 4-minute mile.
Roger Bannister.
Yeah. So it was a known fact that nobody could do that. It was a fact of science that no human could run faster than that. And of course, the minute he did it, like hundreds and thousands of people did it. Isn't that funny? Like how we're wired.
It gets in that field, it's there's a name for that too, of just how that happens, but it gets into that consciousness. And I think that's what it is. And so allowing ourselves to come alive in a particular way, whatever it is, it ignites the passions of others. As you've experienced, I've experienced, becoming electrified, especially there's something about a swing, like a jazz orchestra, and the motion and the movement and the rich permission to feel, I think.
I love that you said that. Yeah, I talk about that all the time.
Say more.
My happy place is always, and I teach at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia. I always tell the students, when I go to my happiest place as a performer and as a listener, I like music. I was thinking from the neck down. Everything that happens from the neck down where you feel it is so much more, it's like what I want to be as an entertainer, performer, and human in the world. Like when you're intellectualizing everything, especially music, and you're in this little box and everything's. Even though I know our brain is so enormously powerful and connected to the field of everything, but still,
share to date, and there are probably so many, when people ask me this, sometimes it's really challenging, but a quintessential performance experience where you felt connected to everything, everyone, it all just felt like that oneness that can only happen through the experience of music.
That was, I mean, it's happened for me personally, of course, hundreds and dozens and not thousands of times in the band collectively.
Yeah.
When you look at your bandmates and you're like, what happened? That was magic. And like I don't know why we don't understand what that is. Why we can't
Right.
write down, the top 10 things to put you in the zone or in flow or
Right.
connected to the universal energy and all that. I was thinking the other day, I was practicing something with brushes, and I was remembering a time when we were playing at Lincoln Center and we were playing this really fast uh, Benny Goodman arrangement featuring one of our clarinetists, and my hands were like disconnected from my body. They were playing so perfectly, so perfectly. I don't understand. I was like, I almost started and I was like, what? Who's
Wow.
playing? Like it didn't, I don't even know what happened, like how that happened. And it was so weird, but it was exceptionally profound. And I'm not sure if I've ever played exactly like that. I don't know what, but I kept thinking to myself, what, why was that so awesome? And the bass player and I were in like perfect sync and harmony. And that's a very small thing, but I don't know if you've ever had that or anybody else. Just, and it doesn't have to be music, it could be anything. Like
Yeah.
everything is just flowing and clicking and it's perfect, like you said.
Yeah.
I feel like always like heart energy. Like I like Greg Braden a lot, and he talks about heart
Oh, yeah.
energy and how
Sure.
your just connects, and that's what it is, like connecting and firing on all possible levels of connectedness. I guess.
Connectedness. Yeah. And I think part of it is that transferring it over to, as you said so beautifully before, like trying to play music from here down. It's getting out of the way, getting like the
Not thinking
swan,
so much.
Yeah, I think my ego gets me to the gig, to the
Yes.
performance. And then as soon as I take the stage, I don't just shift into another persona. I'm not somebody else when I'm on stage, but I leave that over there and I just open and let it play me, sing me. I want to ask you about this because it feels like it translates right into there are a lot of younger artists who, through some of my coaching practices, I experience there's the word they don't appreciate often is the word discipline. And I've been trained to think that discipline is the freedom of having what you want. Like, to be able to experience moments where something can just take over, you've got to develop a level of proficiency to be able to let you just to know that whatever comes through, you got it. Like your hands were playing themselves, but it wasn't because you probably had your 10,000 hours as the Outliers book by the
Probably.
time you were, I don't know, 15, it sounds like at the latest. But speak to the importance of practice.
Oh,
And
thank you for saying that. Oh, it's so important. And I recently read somebody, a drummer, a colleague of mine, sent me this book called The Compound Effect by somebody named Darren Hardy. It's an incredible book. I play. There's a little video online, and I play the first 2 or 3 minutes for all of my students. I said, watch this. He's talking about compound interest in money in this video, but instantly relates to practicing and how it's better. Like the daily practices and the things that transform your life is the discipline of doing things that are pointing you toward your goal. If you want to be an Olympic athlete, you're not going to like eat piles of Big Macs and ice cream sundaes every day for every meal and expect like you're going to be in shape to be an Olympian.
right.
But even if it doesn't have to be like I need to practice 4 hours a day to be great, well, you can practice 30 minutes a day if it's focused practice. But also, if you're passionate about it, practicing is something that you go to because you want to like figure out how to have your voice flow through your instrument. But daily daily is by far so much more important and better for your development than you cannot cram technique. Listen to me. You
Yeah, I
can't
was going to
cram.
say that again.
You
Perfect.
cannot practice 3 hours on Saturday and think there I'm fabulous.
Right.
And that's not how learning works in this case. It's like lifting weights. It's like being an athlete. It's not just actually muscle memory. That's part of it, but it's the way that your neurons and the pathways in your brain all get fired and remember what you're doing. And it's consistent work.
Yeah.
And, honestly, honestly, if it's even 15 minutes a day, whatever your instrument is, if you can manage to be focused and intent and very present with what you're doing, that will accumulate so fast.
Yeah.
Versus,
So those of you who are listening out there, take this pandemic opportunity where we can't be out traveling and doing all these other things to just shed a little bit, as they say. Stay at home, practice your craft, it's the level of proficiency. It's always so fun when we see a student or just it clicks all of a sudden, and then they're on to the next level of it, and they're starting to enjoy it more.
yeah,
So much fun.
yeah. Here
It's
I am.
amazing. Like I love the more we talk, the more I just love seeing how when you follow your soul's passion, how in divine alignment you're always
Uh,
just in. And so I want to thank you once again, Sherrie Maricle, and check out the divajazz.com website and anything else you want to share with us, any other websites we should be checking out. But you're amazing. We thank you for your inspiration. I thank you personally for your music and your inspiration.
well, I
And
can't wait till we get to create some music together.
me too.
But I would like to, and I think people probably listening to this already know this information, but if you love something, please do it. Please do it and share it with the world, because it makes the world so much better when we're all approaching everything from a position of love and not of like, I need this money, I have to do this thing, or or I'll show him or her and I'm going to do this thing. Like, come if you can do the thing that you love, even if it's not necessarily for a living right now, but as many times as you can consciously do that and offer that thing to the world, I think, wow, what an amazing gift for everybody. Whatever your thing is, do that thing.
Do that thing. I couldn't have said it better myself. I thank you so much. And I thank you, all of you, for joining us this morning. And remember, wherever you are loved. Peace and blessings.